All right, thanks for joining us. So not much action in the back half of the week for sports as most teams in the Valley took off and traveled to play games at other schools outside of the area, but one team did stick around, Eagle Valley High softball, and they took on Rifle Thursday evening. A beautiful view of the harvest moon in Gypsum made it a perfect night for some softball as Eagle Valley hosted Rifle. Lily Burek at the plate now. She'll let it rip, and that is gone for the home run. Devils make it a 5-9 game in the bottom of the fourth, and they'll add to it with the bases loaded as Nia Wesley comes home off a walk. Over to the top of the fifth, Bella D'Agostino's pitch is in the dirt. Catcher makes the throw to first, but it's high, and Rylan Petrie will come home. Bears will only get one in that inning, so moving over to the bottom of the fifth, Bailey Costello at the plate, throw is no good. She'll walk, and Wesley will come home on the loaded bases. 7-10, Rifle out in front. Another walk will bring D'Agostino home, 8-10 Rifle, and this hit from Audrey Crowley will make it a one-score game. Things are heating up, but it isn't good enough as Rifle will hold on and beat Eagle Valley 15-9. Well, in the fall, it's all about soccer here in the Valley, and who's the best on the field? Right now, VMS is pretty hot on the field, and they took on a struggling Summit High team at home to see how much damage they could do against a Class 4A opponent. Vail Mountain School looking to start their week 1-0 while Summit hope to turn things around against a high-caliber Class 2A opponent. Gore Rangers take an early 2-0 lead, but Summit will jump back into the game with Santi Cascal, who nails the header off of the pass from Dale Valeas. VMS will retaliate with Rutley Heineman on the free kick. He'll let it roll right into the net, and the Gore Rangers will take that 3-1 lead. VMS back on the attack. They get it to Will Roy, who has a step on the defense, gets close, and rolls it past the keeper to bring the Gore Rangers up 4-1. But the Tigers will fight back and pounce. Griffin Gambio will slide this one past Hunter Iverson to bring Summit within 2 at the half, and Mark Marvel puts up another to make this a one-score game, moving over to the second half. Vail Mountain School in a bind and needing to score soon to keep the Tigers out of reach, and they'll do it with Drew Johnson as he lifts it over the keeper's head on the free kick to put the Gore Rangers up 5-3, and that's how this one will end. VMS improves to 7-3 on the season, and we caught up with a couple players after the game. We're here now with Drew Johnson, scored an awesome goal today in the matchup with Summit High. 5-3 final score, big win for the Gore Rangers. Drew, what are your just kind of final thoughts here after that matchup with Class 4A opponent Summit?
I mean, we just played a great game with our team, great team ball, and it's just having trust with our teammates that leads us to our success.
Okay, and kind of walk me through that goal. You know, you line up for that PK, what's going through your head, and then as soon as you kick it, ball goes to the back of the net. What are your thoughts? What are your emotions? Give me everything.
I mean, again, it first starts off with the trust of my teammates, of me, that gives me that confidence to take that shot. And it's really just picking a spot on the ball, picking a spot in the goal, and then just visualizing what you want to happen, and then just letting it rip, kind of hope for the best.
Okay, do you kind of just get there, black out, let it rip, and then,
exactly.
You know, if it's in, you're throwing your arms up in the air celebrating?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Okay, well, talk to me about the confidence. You said confidence from your teammates building you up is huge. What do they kind of say to you before you kind of take your spot there and let it rip?
I mean, all they're saying is, yeah, this is all you. You got this, man. You've been doing this all practice. That's really all it is. You got this.
Okay, and this game was kind of a dogfight. You guys held that 2-point margin, you know, went up 5-3 final. But what's the most difficult part about playing a Class 4A team? They're such a bigger school. They got more depth. What do you think the most challenging part is there?
I mean, with those bigger schools, it gets a lot chippier and a lot more physical. They got bigger guys, sometimes faster guys, but it's really our chemistry from our team that holds us together. I mean, every day in school, we see like each and every one of our teammates, and we talk. We're all friends, which I think may lack in those bigger schools. And we're just a really close team. Everybody likes everybody, and that kind of leads to our chemistry.
So the camaraderie is just in school, on the practice field, and in games. It's always there.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you tell to, you know, maybe a fan or a player from another team that says y'all aren't legit? You get bailed out by the refs, you know, the full nine with all the excuses. What do you tell them to convince them that you're legit, you have the talent, our record shows we're that team to beat?
I mean, just look at our results and what we've been putting up against these big schools, and just come watch us play, I guess, and then we'll show you what we're really all about.
Okay, and kind of dissecting this, win over Summit High, 5-3 final score. What did you really like from your team on both sides of the ball, attacking the goal and maybe defending the goal?
It really starts with communication all the way, starting from the goalie, working all the way up to the strikers and even on the bench. It's just that talking and communication that leads us to be strong in our formation, that leads us to play better soccer.
And you've got a great goalie down there in Hunter. He's tall, he's got the physical for him, but he seems like a great communicator too. Is he just always in your ear wherever you are on the field?
He's always talking. You can always hear him. All the feedback that he gives is perfect. It's a really good way of knowing if you're doing it well or if you're doing it wrong. And he really does that very nicely, which is great to have.
Okay, and Crested Butte coming up Friday, they're a high caliber opponent. What are you going to be focused on when you take the field over there in Crested Butte before playing them?
It's really just starting out hot, coming out strong. If we come out on our heels, then it's kind of hard to get back in the game, So games where we start off hot, it's really hard for the other team to kind of get a grip of it. So yeah, just coming out hot and working with our team well.
Okay, and what do you kind of like about matching up with a Class 2A opponent, a higher caliber one, especially in Crested Butte?
I mean, it really depends, but a team like Crested Butte, really good team. They've always kind of been good. We've had a lot of good matchups with them in the past, especially in the playoffs of last season. Bit of a shootout there, really exciting game. So I think it's just kind of focusing on just like playing with our teams and not worrying about them.
Okay, and you got the better of Crested Butte last year in the playoffs. Do you think they're going to be remembering that when you take the field this Friday?
100%. That's all they're going to be thinking about, and that's all we're going to be thinking about as well. So it's going to get chippy. It's going to be a fun game.
Vail Mountain School with that 5-3 win over Summit High. Joining me right now, Rutley Heineman. Rutley, what'd you like from today's game against Summit High?
Kind of keeping our emotions under control. They were talking the whole game, and we stayed composed, and we got the win. And yeah, it was just a great all-around game from the team.
Yeah, there was a lot of noise. I was sitting sideline right there, heard some comments, maybe some not so polite things, but how do you keep all that noise out of your head when you're in game mode like that?
Kind of just go back to basics, play how we play. Just try to keep it out of your heads. Just stay composed during the whole entire game, and we did that, and I think that's the main reason how we got the win.
Okay, and getting off the field, what do you tell to like a player or maybe a fan from the other team that says you guys are not legit, like you get bailed out by the refs, dumps the whole body of excuses on you? What do you say to tell them, look at our record, we're legit?
Yeah, just look at our record. I mean, last year, obviously, no fluke. We're here this year to come back and go back-to-back. It's not a fluke. We'll be back.
Okay, in 5-3, there were some times in this game where, Summit was climbing back in there. How did you guys just stay focused and keep adding goals to the game?
I think we, as a team, kind of just kept moving together. We stayed together as a team as we moved throughout the whole entire field. We stayed really composed on defense, and we kind of just passed the ball around and got the win.
Okay, and Summit, they're a 4A school. Y'all are 2A. What's the most difficult part about playing, a schooler in a higher division with more bodies at their school?
I just think before the game, going into it, they kind of just write us off. So we have to prove every single game against a bigger school that we are a legit, very good team, and we're here to stay and we're here to win.
Okay, and how sweet is it when you knock off a school with more depth on their program and roster?
It's really nice. It kind of shows just how good our team is for just a small school, and just how far we can go as a team, hopefully throughout the playoffs and the season.
Okay, and Drew, I had him over here a minute ago. He was telling me, one thing about bigger schools are, the camaraderie's not there on the soccer field that it may be in a smaller school like VMS, in the classroom, on the field at practice, or just in a game. They have less opportunities for that as there's more kids walking around that high school. What do you have to say kind of in relation to that? Do you feel like, the same way the camaraderie is just there in the classroom, it's on the field, and it's in the middle of a game?
Yeah, I think we're all just a very tight-knit group, just as a team. And like you could hear on the field, they were arguing between themselves. That's just stuff that we don't do. We trust each other, and we are one team, and nobody's bigger than the team, and we're here to win as a team. So. Yeah.
Okay. And you got Crested Butte on the schedule. They're a high caliber 2A opponent. What do you guys need to be thinking about ahead of that matchup?
I think going in with confidence, kind of just like this game, they are 3A school. They are very strong as well. We played them in playoffs last year. We had to come from behind multiple times, so they're definitely a strong team. So we're gonna have to play some good soccer.
Okay, and I got to bring up last year too. Y'all fell behind in that game in the postseason, then you kind of brought your team back in it. Do you think they're going to be looking at you with the sour taste in their mouth come Friday?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. But yeah, definitely.
Awesome, Rutley. Anything you want to add today?
No, that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Gotta love Rutley Heineman. He's awesome to interview and a key component of the Gore Rangers. Looking now at some other scorers on the soccer field around the Valley, Battle Mountain knocked out Palisade 7-1 to improve to 9-1 on the season, while Glenwood Springs, on the other hand, fell short to Rifle 0-2, and they're going to drop to 5-3-1 on the year. Glenwood Springs took on Summit High, looking to improve to 6-3-1, while the Tigers of Summit hope to pick up their 5th win of the season, but the Demons, they're going to knock off the Tigers 4-2. Battle Mountain, on the other hand, took on Steamboat, who they had already beaten once this year, but tied them up this time 5-5 at Steamboat. The Huskies now sit 9-1-1 on the year, and Basalt also took on Moffat County and knocked off the Bulldogs 5-0. On the volleyball court for the second time this season, Battle Mountain took on rival school Palisade, and they got swept by the Bulldogs 3-0. That Huskies curse, man, remains relevant within that volleyball program as they've now lost 5 straight. Basalt also took on North Fork and went home with the sweep of the Miners 3-0. This past weekend, both football teams in the Valley played games on the road. Vail Christian, they took on Front Range Academy and ultimately fell 24-28. So naturally, we had to go over to Edwards to talk with head coach Tim Pierson and the team to find out what the struggles were in that matchup and what the team needs to focus on ahead of their matchup Friday with Plateau Valley. Well, it's week 6 for high school football here in the Centennial State, and Vail Christian, they've got a game coming up this Friday at 7 p.m. against Plateau Valley. They're sitting at 1-4 on the season. Vail Christian 2-2 on the year, looking to pick up their 3rd win of the year. Joining me right now, head coach Tim Pierson of Saints football. Coach, what are you guys kind of focusing on this week to get ready for that game on Friday?
We're really focused on us. We felt coming out of that win with McClave, and then we tried to fix some things going into the Front Range loss. But it's really, we got to focus on us getting better at the little things. So kind of just a lot of focus inward right now.
Okay, focusing on a little more detail this week in practice. If you could go back to last week, dissect that loss against Front Range. What kind of went wrong there on that field in that game?
Well, it's interesting. You watch the film, you review it. It's the same story from the week before where we came out with a win. One missed assignment or mistake sets a hole for the offense, and so not being able to move the ball and score was difficult. So a missed assignment by different folks on each play, just 7 guys doing their job, 1 miss, or 6 guys doing their job and 2 misses, and just that consistency of, hey, let's all be on the same page for 8 guys doing their job, because that's important to be successful. So that we got to get better at nailing down our 2-point conversions. We worked a ton on it last week and still couldn't execute on converting our 2-point conversions. So that's another thing we got to continuously get better at that we're looking to do.
Okay, and a lot of coaches tell me that those losses are pretty important because you learn a lot about your program really, and those not so great outcomes. But what do you think you guys took away from that game that you could maybe implement in this one Friday?
Oh, it's definitely do less. We are pretty much do less team, but we need to we call them our Sainted 6 plays. It's a power, it's a counter, it's a sweep, it's an ISO, and we gotta execute those plays really, really well, and the rest of it. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And coming out of a loss like that, it really hurts, it really stings. Great credit to the other team. They had an excellent scheme and plan, showed us some things different from what we were expecting on film, but yet our blocking rules and assignments still answer all those things. So getting back to those rules, getting back to just knowing our assignments and executing.
Okay, and 2-2 on the season, probably not where you want to be, but at the same time, the season's far from over. There's still room to make improvements and still come out on top of that regular season schedule where you want to be sitting. How much would a win Friday spark up that locker room?
Oh, anytime you win, it's a good feeling. Anytime you lose, it's a bummer feeling. So I would say, yeah, a win would be huge. And so that's definitely our focus and the energy. And it's homecoming week for us, so all those distractions are going on. But yeah, it would be awesome.
Okay, and with homecoming, like you just pointed out, some other little distractions going on maybe on campus before you hit the football field before practice. But what have you guys really focused on? What have you told your guys? Be thinking about this week.
It's just getting back to those assignments and doing your job and not taking a play off or making sure that we're all on the same page for executing. And so just that same thing. I sound like I'm repeating myself, but it is that simple. We gotta, and just also like when it is a 2-point conversion, that hey, this is important. We scored, we're happy, we're excited, but we still have 2 points left on the board out there. We got to get.
Okay, and we're nearing kind of that halfway point of the season, coming up on it. Are there any kind of unexpected but positive surprises that you didn't really see coming? Maybe this season when you first took the field, week 1 of practice?
I'm happy the grass is still green and we got some warm weather. I mean, it's a nice warm week. It hasn't started snowing yet. So all those things are super positive. For the most part, we're pretty healthy, and so I'm pleased with that. There's some injuries here and there, but still for the most part, just thankful for that and just the opportunity to come out and play. Good group of kids. So when you're in it with a good group of kids, it's always fun.
Okay, and anything you'd like to add?
No, thanks for doing this and covering high school sports.
Yeah, not a problem at all. It's always my pleasure. Make sure to come out Friday as Vail Christian will be taking on Plateau Valley. So stay tuned for that game coming up Friday at 7 p.m. We'll do some player interviews now. Vail Christian, they've got a big one this week against Plateau Valley, sitting at 1-4 on the season. Joining me right now, wide receiver, tight end combo, and defensive end, Will Newman. Will, what are your thoughts ahead of this game with Plateau Valley?
We have a lot to prove. We came off of a really tough loss. We all put our hearts on the line, and it's a tough loss. They're 1-3, I believe, so there's a team we should really come out and have a statement game. Yeah, so we should be able to prove some things to the whole league.
Okay, and how's kind of the locker room feeling coming down from that loss last week? Are they, hungry for redemption, or are you guys down at all? Like, tell me kind of the mindset. Walk me through that locker room feeling.
After the game, it was a tough probably hour, and kind of the bus ride home, we kind of let each other soak in this feeling of a loss that was tough. And we watched some film yesterday, and then we kind of were like, we were flushing it. It's behind us. We made our mistakes. We're going to learn from it and go to the next one.
Okay, and what do you kind of think the main focus is this week in practice to kind of get in control of the game early and maybe take that dub this Friday?
It's an effort thing. We mentally have had a lot of mistakes, and it's just a lack of effort sometimes, and so we have to be able to flip a switch that we haven't found yet, but that's the focus this week, is find that switch.
Okay, and we're nearing kind of that halfway point in the season. You guys have played 4 games. It's around week 6 or so. Any unexpected surprises maybe with the team that maybe are positive that you didn't expect to see this season?
We have a lot more athletes than we thought we were going to have coming into this year, and we have so much potential. It's just we got to unlock it. And so, it's, like I said, it's finding that switch. Once we find it, I think we're going to be a scary team.
Okay, and what aspects do having more depth have?
A lot of things. It's good in a lot of ways because everyone can play every position, but at the same time, it makes it challenging sometimes because everyone has to kind of know everything. So there's good and bad with it, but we're excited for it.
Okay, and with this game coming up against Plateau Valley, as soon as you step on the field, what do you want to happen from your team?
Like I said, it's just an effort thing. We have to be able to give it our 100% the whole game. And when we do, I think we should really be able to blow this team out of the water.
Okay, and back to that loss last weekend, what do you think you learned along the way in that loss? You learn a lot from winning, but I think you learn even more from some of those L's you take along the way. If you could just elaborate a little.
For sure, yeah, no, it's, I think as leaders we have to hold each other to a higher accountability. Sometimes when we see someone miss a play, it's like, okay, whatever, next play. But I think we have to check in with each other when someone misses a block, go over to them, constructive criticism. Yeah, it's just important as leaders. I think we have to hold each other to a different level because we're capable of that level. We just haven't been playing at that level yet.
Okay, and at 2-2 on the season, probably not the way you guys wanted to start off the year in those 4 games, but at the same time, there's a lot of season left, plenty of time to turn that around. What would a win this week do for that locker room to get them fired up again?
It's homecoming, so there'll be a lot of students in the crowd, and yeah, it's just it's our first league game, so we're still technically undefeated in league. So the goal is to go. We have basically all league games going out through the rest of the year. So win out the league games, be league champs, and then hopefully get a high seeding for playoffs.
Okay, awesome. Anything you want to add?
No, we're excited for the rest of the year.
All right, let's go Saints then. Stay tuned for Friday night as Vail Christian. They got an important game this Friday, 7 p.m. right here on the field across from the high school. Make sure you come out and support. After starting their season off in perhaps the most unexpected way, Colorado football finally lost their first game of the season to Pac-12 foe Oregon on the road in Eugene. The 10th-ranked Ducks hosted the 19th-ranked Buffs for what turned into a beatdown in Eugene as Colorado fell to Oregon 42-6. The team will focus their attention on a matchup with 8th-ranked USC back home in Boulder, only they may be doing it without their star defensive back Shiloh Sanders. Sanders, he suffered from an undisclosed injury in Saturday's loss, but Coach Prime, in a presser Tuesday, remains optimistic for his son's return this weekend. Now taking a look over at the Week 5 AP Top 25 poll, Colorado no longer in the conversation after that huge loss on the road in Eugene, but listed below in receiving votes to get back in, along with Air Force, who's undefeated on the year at 4-0. Air Force, they're going to match up with San Diego State on Saturday after coming off a huge win over San Jose State last Friday. The Falcons take on the Aztecs Saturday at 6 p.m. Colorado State hosts FCS opponent Utah Tech on Saturday, which will come at 5 p.m. Transitioning over to Division II football, Colorado School of Mines still standing proud at number 2 in the country, while Western Colorado moved up a couple spots and is sitting at number 17. Both RMAC schools are undefeated on the year and remain the only 2 schools from the Centennial State in Division II football that are ranked. CSU Pueblo, they were in the conversation, hit the board once this season, but it was short-lived as they played Western and Mines back-to-back to fall to 1-3 on the season. So all in all, not the best weekend for football here in the Valley, whether you're an Eagle Valley fan, a Vail Christian fan, a Colorado Buffs fan, but let me tell you, it only got worse Sunday when the Broncos traveled to Miami to take on the Dolphins. I don't even want to talk about this one because it's just embarrassing, but the Broncos sustained probably one of the worst losses in franchise history as they fell by 50 to the Dolphins. Russell Wilson, he looked all right, but the defense could not hold it together as they allowed the Dolphins to put up 70 points in 4 quarters. Broncos dropped to 0-3 on the season and will play the Bears in Chicago this Sunday. That game is going to kick off around 11 a.m. So with the Broncos falling to 0-3 on the season, I think it's about time we cross their name off the list for who we think we're going to see in the postseason this year in the NFL. But maybe they'll turn a corner this weekend as they take on a struggling Bears team. Make sure to continue coming back to us for all the latest sports coverage around the Valley and beyond. We'll see you next time.